All right, welcome to the Rocket Launcher podcast. This is episode 115. I am your host, Supreme King, as always, and join with me is my co-host, and his name is.
It's your guy Omazes.
How you doing, man? How is everything?
I'm chilling. I'm sleepy, but I'm chilling. How you doing?
You sleepy?
Yeah,
It's
man.
like
Long day at
what
work.
is it, 9:40 something? It's
Yeah,
funny. I
early
think I
morning.
used to be a little bit more sleepier around that time, but somehow adjusted in the opposite way. Sometimes I don't really go to sleep until like midnight now. But I'm gonna change that
I used to
soon.
be the other way. I
Um,
was the person that couldn't process the morning, but like I was up until like 3 a.m. regularly. Uh,
hmm
now it's no, I need some sleep because I gotta wake up early.
Yeah. I remember there was some times where a while back, by the time we hit 9 o'clock in the morning, it used to feel like half the day had went by for me because I would be up, just
Ooh,
busy, busy.
I remember people used to tell me it was like
Um,
9 o'clock and I wasn't up yet. Like I even had coworkers if they needed to message me about something. uh they knew like they'll start texting at like 10 and they're like we're gonna reply from Omar at like 2, like if it was the weekend, because they're like he ain't up yet.
yeah. Shout out to the wrestler The Rock. I remember he used to say something about like I'm up at 4 in the morning, clanging and banging, clanging and banging, talking about going to the gym.
Oh, you know
But
who
I
else
used
is
to
like
be
that?
up, but not really at the gym at 4 in the morning.
You know who else is like that? Apparently
But
what's his name, Mark Wahlberg, Marky
uh
Mark.
huh.
He's like the same way. Apparently like he starts his day at like 3-4 in the morning, like just at the gym and doing stuff, and it's like nah.
Yeah,
I'm
I
proud of you.
mean, I know the feeling. I'm gonna get back to it. It's just being productive. It's all about being productive as quickly as you can. Um, like just wanting to get a lot of things done. Because I'm gonna actually be more like that towards YouTube, especially because before a certain time frame, it's like you don't really got anything else to do for anybody else, so you might as well do your own work, and YouTube is gonna be a part of it. But anyways, game on the screen is Astro Bot, and um, did you had a few things you wanted to say about it, but is this considered your number one game of this year?
This is my personal game of the year. I don't think it's game of the year for everybody. Like I honestly think that does go to Black Myth. Uh, but personally, it is my favorite game that I've played this year. I did platinum it. I got the platinum trophy. Um, and just had a good time doing it too. Like I wanted to. It wasn't one of those games that felt like a chore. Like it was like I want to explore every part of this game. So yeah, I loved it. As you see, like so, one of the things is after you like kind of beat the planet boss, you get a special PlayStation themed level based off of a character, and this one that you're seeing on the footage is God of War.
I think you just casually said something and just kind of kept moving. I don't think Black Myth is actually going to get nominated at this point. I
Huh.
do think that it's worth it, but I think just going off of last year with like
Uh,
Hogwarts, I think it's on that
yeah.
category.
I keep hoping
Um,
that that doesn't happen again.
mm,
Uh, because I feel like the controversy, even though I don't think the controversy of the Hogwarts one was a big deal, I don't think that this one is as big of a deal. Even more so. So I'm hoping Blacksmith doesn't get cheated like that. But I guess overall, just overall, I don't think this is going to be like the winner of Game of the Year.
I don't think Black Myth would win. I'm just hoping that it would actually be recognized, acknowledged, shown the respect it deserves.
Fair.
But it's very much like a tight like 6 games this year. It's not like when we had what was the game? It takes two. When it takes two
I mean,
won,
yeah.
it's no disrespect to it takes two, but it just looked like they was throwing games up there. during the time that it won, and it was still a really good game and well developed. But like the games that was next to it and everything, they just threw them up there that year. This year it seems like in the beginning it was like clear as day Black Myth had to be one of the games, but October has had gaming basically catch up a little bit where there's definitely some other games there that have the name value and the player base that are
Fair.
basically caught up. I'm hoping that it gets into the final six, but I doubt that it's gonna win anything just based on all the other weird controversies and stuff. But I do stand by what I was saying before, where if it doesn't get acknowledged, I may not watch the award shows ever again. I'll just probably look at reveals and stuff on YouTube. I already don't care to watch the full show because the show is not really a show. It's kind of like focused on way too many other things. It's like infomercial, really. But Astro Bot, I think, should win, or not win, but at least be a part of the six as well.
Yeah.
But it seems like for another one of my topics that I'm gonna get to in a second, Metaphor Refantazio is gonna be in that category.
That's right. Some people are
Um,
that one game of the year already. I got people calling that one game of the year.
yeah, so like I really think that it's gonna be a nice 6 games there where there's gonna be probably a lot of people who feel like there's 2 or 3 games that are just not gonna make it that they think should have made it.
Okay.
But I think Black Myth is gonna be one of those. Unfortunately, just because of just the thought process behind the people behind these type of shows.
Right.
But for me personally, I think Black Myth should definitely be in the top 6, and it definitely is a contender to win. It seems like it if it won, I think some people would probably be a little upset, maybe, just because it's not like Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. I think might be another one that might make that list, but that one has much more name value
I
compared
don't know how
to
many people complain about getting their butts whooped by grade 8 Vegeta.
yeah. But if the thing is, everybody's sitting there and they're playing it, like it was a well
Nah, I
bought
don't think that
game.
could be a fair argument because Hogwarts Legacy was a well-bought game.
I mean, yeah, but who's like trying to block it though? You know what I mean? Like Dragon Ball doesn't like who's there's no like wokeness behind it. If you would think it would be, but there's not. At least there's nobody saying anything about it at least right now. Um but I think actually the only thing that has somebody saying something about it is Astro. Or not Astro, the other one. Black Myth Wukong. It's I don't think there's
Oh,
anything
Metaphor.
like anti woke about it though for any
Oh,
of the other
not the
game.
woke thing. Well, that
Hmm.
and Dragon Age Veilguard, which we'll talk about later. But I don't think so. People haven't. I've seen people complaining about Metaphor already. Like I saw some people like, "Yo, this is game of the year," and immediately because people enjoyed it, there's a bunch of other people who had to jump online and be like, "It's not that good. Final Fantasy's better." Uh, Other people said that y'all just don't have the attention span for a long cutscene. So I see this is the arguments back and forth. Um, like immediately there were lists. Like I just saw like somebody was like, "I really like Metaphor," and then people making lists of like, "Here's a list of RPGs that are better," and it's like you can't just let people like stuff. Like, wow.
Final Fantasy VII is an interesting one though too because or Rebirth because it was one of those games where the people who played it considered it a game of the year, but it didn't make as many sales at least to Square Enix as what they would have wanted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I guess we'll have to see. At least for the gamers overall, there's enough stuff there this year. Arguably next to last year. Last year was a little bit more flashy because most of the stuff was coming out all year round. But I
Yeah.
think this year it's caught up. It just caught up late.
Yeah. Fair.
As like some of the good games, but Yeah,
Um,
Astro I haven't bought yet. I do want to buy it soon, but I have so many things that I was just planned currently that I didn't
yeah.
know when I was gonna get around to it.
Well, for
But
me, like I said, this game was great. I enjoyed it a lot. Um, so yeah, platinum did the final level. Man, that thing whooped my butt. Like everything was difficult because like you could clearly see everything you have to do, but you had to do it perfect, like a perfect run. On any sort of lag or a second guess, and you're probably gonna lose, and you have to restart the level over. And I even have footage of one of them where I make it all the way to like the last part and it instantly failed, and I was so upset. Uh, but I finally, it was like 3 days of trying, and I finally made it.
there
So
was
got some challenges there.
okay. I think we can move on for a second. I
For
did
that,
want to mention. Go ahead.
I was gonna say that even though I've platinumed and beaten Astro Bot, it's not done because the developers decided to start releasing speed rounds from October 17th, once a week up until November 14th. So there's gonna be 5 speed rounds added to the game for your speed running people with like more challenges and more things
Hmm.
added. And then eventually they even said they're gonna be adding more unlockable characters and things like that. And all of this was released free. So it was an update where you got more stuff.
I would say with that though, for people who are going to play that, I would suggest if you have it or if you don't have it to get it, get the controller. What is that controller called? The PlayStation DualSense Edge, the Edge controller, the $200 controller. The reason why I say that is because I think initially in the Playroom game, the speed runs is where I got that Joy-Con drift
Uh,
from jolting it and everything like that. At least with the Edge controller, you can swap out that stick. It's probably gonna still cost you like $20, and sometimes it ain't even gonna be like available. But I would suggest that, or make sure you got some like sticks on deck where you can um, fix it. Because I actually bought some sticks. I was gonna mention it later, but I bought like a set of sticks that was like 4 in 1 or something like that. It hasn't come in the mail yet, but I bought it on Amazon, and I bought the toolkit. It was really cheap stuff because I plan on fixing one of my PlayStation controllers that does have drift. And once it's working, I'm actually going to take it back apart and try to spray paint it and make it look cool. Um, but yeah, I'm going to try to do that. But for a lot of people, anybody who's going to play those speed runs, like it's, I remember from the Playroom, they were very intense with some of them, where you had to get through it in an exact amount of time or less. And it's a lot of like jolting forward. Like I think he does like one of those jumps that's like a little bit further down or something, at least in the Playroom game. And so I remember doing it, and then that's when I first started to get the drift. They don't got no. Unfortunately, there's no like PS5 controllers coming from third party or something. That's like cheaper where you can like play these type of games. Another game I could think of on well, it's a multiplayer game, but I had it on the Switch. Celeste. Celeste was another game where you would jolt from side to side a lot. And it can really drift your controllers if you're not careful. But yeah, it's probably still dope. It's still dope. I remember seeing some people talking about it, like they was gonna wait for all of them to be available in order to do it. But I guess that's cool. They only got 5 of them this time. But yeah, that's cool because it's free, right? Isn't it just free content? It's not like
yes, it is.
any other content. Yeah, that's cool. Um, I look forward to it. I just know I gotta watch it with that kind of controller because it's just like, eh. But yeah, shout out to it. Shout out to the game. Shout out to platformers in general because I'm a big fan of platformers, and you don't really get any platformers that's like really mainstream no more. It's really just Mario, and then maybe like an announcement that I wasn't even gonna say, but like Nintendo was gonna add like Banjo Kazooie, not Banjo Kazooie, but the second one onto their like um platform online, Nintendo Online. I forgot what it was called, expansion pack. If you have that, they'll have that on there, which is just an N64 game. But it's like you don't really get too many like platformers that get like a profile where you can um be really really happy to play it, or really looking forward to it. It's like it's really just the top names only, unfortunately. But yeah, we can move forward. I did want to mention for anybody out there who was listening, I do appreciate people who listen to the podcast. I apologize for my hiatus from last week. Had some personal stuff going on. Back this week. Hopefully everything's gonna be good for next week. But some of the other stuff that I had wanted to mention really was coming from off the heels of the podcast from 2 weeks ago, because I believe that was when I announced, or at least talked about, a whole bunch of games that was coming out throughout this month. A bunch of them are already out. A few of them are still um, basically about to come out. But there were two games that went head to head. And these two games were Metaphor Refantasio and Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. We kind of talked about both of them already, but I just wanted to mention it because it was kind of a head-to-head thing there, where it's two different play styles, obviously two different audiences, but I'm pretty sure they share a lot of people in between a little bit. But basically, Metaphor Refantasio, that game sold 1 million copies in the first day, which is pretty awesome. That's really, really awesome. Say it again.
Good for Atlas.
Yeah, I think for them, somebody had mentioned, I saw online somewhere, like within a year span they had like 4 games that had came out, and this was the fourth. And it was like Tactica, or Persona 5 Tactica, Persona 3 Reloaded, Shimigami Tensei 5 Vengeance, which depending on how you look at that, it's like that was like the definitive version, right? And then this game, Metaphor Refantasio. And so they're firing on all cylinders, unlike a lot of other studios that are like, if you don't make the sale in 2 days, or everybody's fired. It's like, well, these guys are making their sales, and they're doing really good. And so yeah, that one did 1 million, and a lot of people who played it, they're considering it the best Atlas game so far. As far as the way that the game plays, they say it improves on like the mechanics and stuff that we've seen from Persona 5, which should be a thing because Persona 5 originally came out on like PS3, so it should have improved. But yeah, and then its opponent for the day that it came out, was Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, which actually sold 3 million copies in the first day. Very big release for them. Definitely making up for whatever that game was that came out like the year before or something.
It was
Dragon,
called Breakers.
yeah, it
I
was.
finally saw a meme about that where they were showing like Dragon Ball Z games and they were like, all the past Dragon Ball Z releases have been a banger, but that one had an X over it.
Yeah. But yeah, this one definitely sold enough for that game and this game, all in one. And so that's another game that's big on my list. I haven't gotten that one yet either. I did go ahead and wish list the most expensive version. I think it was the $100 version. If I see that one go on sale for like normal price, that's probably when I would get it. But I think at that point, that's when you'll start seeing like more DLC coming from the new show. Um, I haven't seen the new show yet. I'm actually still in Super at some point. Somewhere like in the tournament, I'm in Super, and so I got to pick that back up and finish it. But yeah, those two games went head to head, and they made big sales. I think October and this upcoming February. Actually, I don't know how many games are going to be announced for February, but those are usually the biggest months for gaming. It's like from October to February, and then the rest of it is just like all struggle. I don't know what's happening with everybody else, but nobody wants to release games anywhere else in the year. But yeah, October is very stacked. And those two games were the top two selling ones, which we already knew that was probably going to happen so far. And I did want to also give a shout out to Silent Hill 2. That game did really well as well. The special thing I actually want to mention about Silent Hill is apparently with Silent Hill 2, the remake, um, you can still play the first Silent Hill 2 on the older system. I believe it's PS2. You can still play that and then play this and apparently get a different experience because someone called it a reloop theory that I was finding out about, but basically the whole concept of Silent Hill is that you're in this like area. You're basically in this horror area that is technically in a loop or whatever until you figure out what you're supposed to do. And so the idea is that you're in a an area where in theory you can say that Silent Hill 2's remake is just another loop of what you would have played on the PS2. So it's not like Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 4 remake. It's like it really could be a different timeline. So anybody out there, if you're into playing retro games, definitely play the old one and the new one. Yeah. Anything you want to say about any of these games? We mentioned like 3 games here. You want to mention anything about them?
I tried a little bit of the demo for Metaphor Refantasio. I started it way too late. It was like midnight when I like turned it on. So I was getting sleepy, but it seems cool so far. And very like the beginning of it feels very anime style. So if like you're like me, like I'm a person I get really into like story driven games. So it's like seeing the whole like, little movie part of it, and then just really getting into the cutscene. And it seems cool. I'll be jumping back in later to get more of the plot because right now it's just kind of like medieval sort of looking fantasy, and I'm not fully sure like what's happening. So I gotta watch again.
That's that demo is like 20 hours, right? Isn't that what they said?
I
Something
heard
like
some
that.
people were able to get 60 out of it, but yeah.
60 hours out of a demo. That's crazy.
Yep.
But if I'm not mistaken, you can also take your save data and transfer it to the actual
Yeah.
game and then just keep
Yep.
going. So, yeah. So that's that might be one of the biggest demos I've ever heard of, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
That might
20
that
hour
might
demo. Like even like I know they said some people got 60. Still a 20 hour or 15 hour even demo. That is crazy. Like that is a crazy amount.
there was the game Kingdom Hearts 3. I think its demo was long too. I remember sitting there like, yo, when is this gonna stop? Because I was just kind of playing it and I wanted it to be over. And I think that game is also like turn based a little bit. But I was just like, I was kind of like jaded a little bit. I was like, yo, this demo is long. I thought this demo was going to be like an hour. That demo just kept going. I think it was like 3 hours I was playing that. And I was like, okay, I'm done with this game. Because I ain't really like it too much. I just want to finish the demo. And it just, it kept going. But shout out to Kingdom Hearts for everybody who like it. But yeah, I was just like, yo, that's kind of long. Shout out to demos in general. Demos is always a special gift to a gamer. You get to play something and figure it out. Figure out if you like it, and you'll get a whole new genre of a game that you'll get used to playing and you start going back and playing games from the previous titles in that genre, if it has any like sequels or stuff or alternatives. At some point in the middle of the show I was going to mention a whole nother demo as well out there, so stay tuned to that. I do want to also mention some of these things are from last week as well. Real quick, because I don't think we're gonna get to Nintendo's footage right away. Um, Nintendo announced at one point their alarm clock. You remember we talked about this? Is this something you would ever buy?
No, no.
Okay.
One, I don't need it constantly going off because I didn't get up. The whole little motion sensor part of it, and
Yeah.
just no, no, I would not.
All right. So every now and then I go sideways at Nintendo fans. I'm like known for doing that at this point. And then I'll turn around and still buy certain games, right? But this time, no, I'm not buying this alarm clock. But did you know this thing? They're selling this for $100.
That's a lot. But didn't it also sell out?
That's why I want to go there. Like, yo, like, are we serious right now? Like, why are we? See, the thing is, I've had some arguments with some like super like Nintendo fans and stuff. I'm like, if you really want first party titles from them of all the other characters in Super Smash Brothers, you gotta demand it from them, and they'll give it to you eventually. But if you still gonna keep buying other products like this, it's like there's no incentive for them to get the ball going for something like a Donkey Kong, for example, right? Like a new Donkey Kong game, or so many different Smash Brother characters, right? And I'm just like, yo, didn't they sell the cardboard for like $80?
Something like that. But
It's like,
I
come
look
on,
at it
bro.
as like them selling this clock for 100. I look at it as that company selling the Megazord for 400. Right? Like it's a collectible item.
Is this really collectible? They just made it up.
Yeah,
What?
yeah.
They just
It's
made it
a
up out
clock
of.
that plays Nintendo tunes. Yeah, it's a collectible. It is an item. It is a collectible.
That's a playlist on the phone.
Yeah, but this one is the clock that does it. The whole motion sensor. Like it's a collectible.
That's
It is
crazy.
an item. It is a collectible. It's a collectible that does more than most collectibles do. I'm just saying, I collect Funko Pops, and none of them wake me up in the morning.
But they don't cost $100 either.
That's also true, but
A
I've never
hundred.
felt over $100.
Like okay, there's literally no elite control. Like, you know how we got a Xbox Elite controller and a PlayStation Elite controller, the Edge controller, right? That I just spoke on earlier. Like, $100 for that would have made sense to me. If they came out with some sort of Elite controller that had the back buttons, you're sitting here screwing the knobs together. They've addressed the Joy-Con drift or something in it. Okay, I will spend $100 on that. I'm not about to spend $100 on a clock, but I guess I can understand also. Some people it's a collector's item or stuff. I was just more prepared to see people trash this, and then they did, and I'm like, well, you're not gonna get the first party games you want because you keep buying these kind of things. That's just how I look at it.
I don't know if that's true. I think they're two separate issues. Like Nintendo release collectibles, people want collectibles. Cool. Like I feel like they should do both. Like release your silly collectible stuff that people want, but make these first party games. Like and also I don't know if boycotting Nintendo. And like I'm not gonna buy anything until you start making the games I want.
No, you can still buy the games. Please buy the games if you
Well,
want the
argue the
game.
other way. I'm only
But
buying like the collectibles and silly stuff, but I refuse to buy your games until you get me the games that I want. I feel like that's a little more effective.
no, I think that's worse. I don't think because you basically gonna turn them into a toy store if that's the case. They'll just do that. But I don't know. I just when I saw it was 100, I was like, yo, because when they first showed it in my head, I was like, okay, they might upcharge on it like if it was amiibo, but just a little bit more, because they was already upcharging where some of them games were like or not games, but us the controllers like the N64 controller that they did was like $50 or something. I thought it was gonna be more in line with that. I was like, okay, $50 is kind of a lot, but it makes more sense. But 100, I'm like, yo, this costs more than your titles, your first party games. That's crazy to me.
Again, playing from the other end, they were selling an item you're supposed to use daily, um, like an important function item with motion sensors. That's a daily use.
Wow.
$50, like
I
like
guess.
silly. I don't want the cost. Like I think the whole concept is silly, but I I expected it to be around that price.
I expect them to. I don't know. I want them to put that kind of energy into something other than Mario and Zelda. I
That's
say that as somebody who's probably still gonna buy them two games. What's that game called? The midget one. The midget Zelda. You play as her. I forgot. I might buy that next year sometime.
cartoon Zelda,
Huh?
the cartoon.
The one that they just announced. The one that just came out like last month or 2 months ago.
The what's it called? Like the wisdom or something.
Echoes of Wisdom. I think that's what it
Yeah,
was called.
echoes of wisdom, and then
Echoes of Wisdom, and
brothership.
then Mario versus Luigi, or Mario and Luigi doing some stuff.
Brothership.
Yeah, maybe sometime by the summertime I might pick those two up.
That
You
should be
know,
the next one. Mario and Luigi doing stuff.
yeah, they just it's Mario Luigi again. I ain't gonna hold you up. I might I don't have a Mario Party. I know Mario Party is a Jamboree. That also was an October release, basically. I do think I would get that eventually as well because I don't have a Mario Party at all. At least not a new one. The last time I actually had Mario Party, I think it was on Mario Party 4 on the GameCube. So I know I missed a bunch of them in between, but it's like,
That's
yeah,
really fun when you have 3 or 4 other people playing.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think this their third one
You
too,
end
ain't
up
it?
playing other stuff. Yeah. Like
They got a bunch of
like
them.
I've had friends who have gotten it, and that's how I've played it. But
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, game on the screen. This isn't the latest Spider-Man, like Spider-Man 2. But the topic is a topic that I wanted to wait for this footage for. I think is somewhat of a big topic. Depends on how you look at it. I would like to get your perspective on this. But apparently, the news came out that Spider-Man 2 was going to go to PC. We kind of already knew that already. I mean, just looking at the track record. But the bigger thing, actually, to me, is not only I think it was a part of the announcement, but not only is Spider-Man 2 going to PC, um, which I think we actually did we announce this or did we talk about this last? Or no, we talked about this when we was gaming, right?
yeah,
That it was coming out sooner on PC. But the bigger news to me is that they mentioned that there's no DLC here, and I fully expected them to have DLC, but it looks like DLC. I don't know if they said it was just canceled or it's just it was never DLC to begin with. But yeah, there's no DLC. One of the big reasons why I did not buy that game right away was because I wanted to play what would have been either a Game of the Year edition or a definitive edition of some kind. And usually by the time it hits PC, it's all in one. But it looks like it's going to PC as is with no DLC whatsoever. And I just want to mention the Spider-Man on the screen is Miles Morales. I don't know if I said that already. But what's your take on this? Are you disappointed? This is like one of your big games from the year before, right?
and yes. So, one, I think it's a little too soon to be coming to PC, right? But also at the same time, I think it's weird that like they keep putting some of their biggest IPs on PC, and then they're like, "Hey, buy the PS5 Pro," and it's like, no, like all your stuff is coming to PC, so I'll play it there where I can mod it. All right, I'm gonna get the highest graphics, the best look, have fun, and then when you're done with the game, I can mod it and not be done with the game.
So why do you
So there's
think?
that.
Why do you say it's too early to go to PC?
I feel
Why
like
would you
so
say that?
they've
Hmm.
been moving stuff to PC, but it's been like I don't know, maybe time has moved quickly since Spider-Man 2 released. Uh, but it feels like it came out too soon. Again, it's like it felt like before it was like you get the PlayStation because it has the exclusives. Now the exclusives are being moved to another platform, so
Hmm.
then it now feels like well, okay, if you play it on PlayStation, you get to play it like right away. I guess like that's become the new incentive. But
Yeah.
now it feels like the wait ain't even that long. Uh, then so now it just really feels like well, no, like if I could just chill and enjoy what I have, I can just wait a couple like months and boom, it's on PC. That's what it feels like. I know it's been more than months, but to be honest, it feels like it's only been a couple months.
That's because I think a lot of people don't really just focus on one game like that.
Yep.
It's like you blink and all of a sudden it's on another platform. Like I didn't really like I was I'm still gonna buy it and play it. I wasn't really waiting for it to be on PC. I think when this game came out, I didn't have my PC yet, the with the 4090. But I was waiting more just for all the DLC to release,
Yeah. So
and
now on
then
the that part,
yeah,
there's one of two things. I think either they're waiting until some sales happen on the PlayStation or on the PC, then they're gonna release DLC. So now people are buying DLC on PlayStation and on PC. Versus they don't have to buy it on PC, right? Uh, so I think they're either trying to market it in two places, or the
hmm
worst idea is if it's in DLC now, that means it can't be in the next game. Like I wonder if they're running out of, I guess, story to tell. So in order to keep the next game big, like with all the different stuff where it's not just the one mission, they have to
hmm
leave the stuff for the next game and not put it in DLC. That's the worry. I
Well,
don't
I have a question about it too. Because I failed to look this up. Maybe you can look this up for me while I ask you. Do we know? Well, we know that the PS5 version of this game. Um, I said initially they were going to charge you for certain suits, right? And
Yep.
then
And I held tight that they wouldn't, and they didn't. Well,
they
they did those like later ones, right?
it was some deluxe edition of this game, right?
Yeah.
Do we know if the PC version comes with those suits in the version without paying extra? That's the question I will probably. Because usually, whenever a PC version of the game comes out, it's the definitive version for the base price. And that was something that I was like getting annoyed at for a while until I like got my actual 4090. But um, that was a question because I know usually with all the DLCs, they would turn back around and say, well, here's the full version of this game on PC, right? And they did that with the last few versions or the last couple titles. I would say why you probably looking that up.
Found it.
You found it
Yeah, they're selling both the standard and deluxe edition
on the PC.
on PC.
So
Yeah.
that's interesting because that might mean that they might be looking at selling it in pieces over there, like if they do come out with DLC. Um, but it might sound like also that they might be done with that game because of.
Oh, but that's what I was saying that they might release DLC where it's like now, rather than the PC getting the complete version,
Mm-hmm,
it's now you have to buy DLC on both. Right? Like anybody who wants DLC, if you played it on PC, you gotta
mm-hmm.
buy the DLC. If you played it on PlayStation, you gotta buy the DLC.
Yeah. Do we know if did the PS5 version of the game did they come out with a physical version of the deluxe edition? Do we know that?
I believe so.
Cuz I might like I don't know if I really necessarily need to play the PC version if the PS5 physical edition is like if it's got a dope cover and everything, like reverse cover and everything, I might still get it that way.
Oh no, it
Um
was digital deluxe.
Digital deluxe. Oh man. See, that's another thing too. Is like if you don't get the whole thing on disc, you might as well get the PC version. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get around to it eventually, but yeah, it's interesting that that particular game they didn't just have a bunch of extra content. I really thought that they would. Like I predicted that they were going to probably try to sell you a couple suits, but I really thought that they would have um DLC content, story content. And so I guess I didn't get all that right, at least for right now. But
Without spoiling who,
mhm,
they did set up a DLC level villain in the same way they did in the first Spider-Man game. The first Spider-Man game had a few that they set up, but like
mhm,
this one did set up one that everybody just assumed this is going to be your DLC villain. Like that was the full thought process. And
yeah,
then I thought of another relative DLC that they could have done for the game that I think people would have liked. Again, without spoiling anything, uh, it has to do with like basically one of the characters in the or actually no, they did set up for two villains. So they
mhm,
set up for two villains that could have been for DLC, and then I think they could have had a one where you get to play like from the perspective of a different character. Um, is what like during the game. So like parts where they were doing their own thing, you could play as them. Uh, that's what I thought they were gonna do, but I think most people
okay,
have seen enough footage to know. So this isn't really a spoiler. I guess if it is spoiler, plug your ears. But basically, is they could have played as Harry.
okay,
During like his parts in the game, like early on, where he was kind of like a helper. It was like
mhm,
let's play it from his point of view. Like I thought that would be one DLC, and then focusing on the other two villains they introduced, could have potentially been the other two DLCs. That's what I thought they were gonna do, but
okay. Well, yeah, I guess for anybody who don't want to wait, you don't have to worry about it at least for right now. You can go out there get that game probably this holiday season. I don't know if you're gonna see that big of a price cut for Black Friday, but I would imagine this game should be in the $30 or $40 range. I would be surprised if it was 30, but definitely in the $40 range during Black Friday. Um, Game of the Year contender last year, I kind of questioned that at the time because of like its bugs at the time. But I'm pretty sure 1 year later, especially on PC, that they've polished that enough. Hopefully, um, yeah, we can move forward. I don't really want to spend too much time on this, but I do want to just mention um, Call of Duty Black Ops 6 apparently is a bigger success compared to the last Call of Duty that they came out with.
hey,
This one apparently is the one where whoever the team is, I don't know the team. I didn't look it up, but they spent some time on this and made sure to give you a quality product. And so this is considered one of the better um Call of Duties right now. It's fresh out. It's one of the games that came out just right after some of the other ones that we mentioned earlier. And it's hot right now apparently. Which is cool for Call of Duty as a shooter and everything. It's not like Madden, for example. I gotta throw them under a bus for a second. It's like it's not just we're just throw you another game. They do still work on their product. Sometimes it's bad, but then there's sometimes it's good. This so happened to be one of the times where it's good. But Black Ops 6 is probably one of the better um shooters right now for anybody to go get. Anybody who wants to take a break from Warzone, definitely go take a look at this game. Anything you want to say about Call of Duty at all?
oh, go Call of Duty.
No Call of Duty.
That's a go Call of
Go
Duty.
Call
Go
of
Call
Duty.
of Duty.
Okay. Yeah. So shout out to this particular Call of Duty, especially too. I want to see how much how good of a performance it does overall this holiday season, especially for Xbox, because I believe this is also supposed to be the first Call of Duty to be a part of Game Pass. So it will be very interesting to see what this particular Call of Duty does to move the needle for them, because it happened to be a really good game. It was not anywhere near the last one, because I think the last one was like a 4 or 5 out of 10 or something like that. Like, no, this one's up there. It's one of the great ones. So more power to them. I am happy that overall, this month especially, we're getting some really good games in a lot of different genres, and even guys who probably didn't have to do as good as they did, they're still pulling their weight, and so I'm really happy with Activision and Call of Duty at least. Um, Moving forward, I think this might be a good time to just move towards the middle portion. The middle portion is usually when I give a shout out to Epic Games, which is our unofficial sponsor that I always like to highlight because they give out free games. And you can't complain when it comes to free because free is free and everybody loves free, hopefully. But Epic Games is a platform where you can go on there and create a profile. You do not need a credit card, debit card on the platform, but you can create a platform or create a profile on the platform and just start claiming all these games every week. Right now, from now until October 31st, they have a game called Moving Out, and I actually think this was a game that I've not wish list, but I've claimed before with them because it showed for me that I had already had it. Funny enough, I didn't see no horror games at all. They didn't go there. I thought they probably would, but they didn't actually really go there. But Moving Out is like a regular old title. Go ahead. What was you gonna say?
Next week is the horror games.
Is that really horror? I mean, I guess it is. Ghostwire
Yeah.
Tokyo is a very big title, but I
Yeah.
never looked at it like horror. Maybe it is horror,
Well,
but
the whole game is ghosts and some jump scares.
I guess yeah,
Not a lot of jump scares. Not enough to be like on some Five Nights at Freddy's, but
yeah,
enough that you're getting into the action and then boom, jump scare. Like,
yeah. It's funny because it's like the window of playing that before Halloween is over is like like really small. But like from October 31st through November 7th, it's not only Ghostwire Tokyo but a game called Witch It that just looked like I saw it was like a picture of like a witch, almost like the Wizard of Oz in a way on the cover.
yeah,
But yeah, Ghostwire Tokyo is going to be the bigger game. I believe that one came out either 2021 or 2022, around the holiday season. Big Bethesda game. I remember it was like a part of a mini controversy at a time because I guess Xbox bought Bethesda, but this game already had a deal with PlayStation. If I'm not mistaken, it was something like that. But yeah, I believe I have this physical, but it's cool to have more than one version of it. But I think I have the actual deluxe edition on PlayStation, so I might still end up playing that version once I
yeah. I
get
got
around to it. But yeah, it's cool to have more than one version. This is considered a bigger get actually for all the times that I talk about like Epic Games and what you can get from Epic Games. I think this is probably one of their bigger titles. And we're not even in their like Christmas thing yet, where they give you like 23 or 17 games in a row, like every day. Usually when they do that, they give you a bigger title as well. But Throughout the year, I think Epic Games has given us like a good handful of bigger titles amongst all the little ones. So this is a big get. I think that's a big get. I think it might even be bigger than Callisto Protocol when they did Callisto Protocol, because this was not really considered a bad game like Callisto was to an
Yeah.
extent. But yeah, go out there, create your profile, and claim these games while you can. I will definitely claim that when that's available on Halloween, I guess. I did also want to mention just a couple of highlights here that I don't think I need to mention anywhere else. Um, Dave the Diver, if anybody remember this game, um, the DLC featuring one of my favorite characters, Godzilla. Just so people are aware, this was still a DLC that was set to be delisted. And it's delisting November 23rd, and I thought I might just spread more awareness little by little here and there to go and claim it, because I think it was a free DLC. I don't own this game yet. I do plan to buy it on the platform that has this DLC listed, but I think it was on PC. But check all the platforms on which platform will let you claim the DLC even though you didn't buy the game yet. But it was supposed to be a free DLC. Some platforms you got to buy the game first in order to claim it, but I'm pretty sure there's one of them that you don't. And so um find it. It probably is PC. But yeah, that one is going to delist on the 23rd. I don't know why they're still doing that, but it is what it is. Another game that's actually delisting on Halloween, that I want to mention again, is Little Big Planet 3, which is right now digitally you can get it for $19.99. I do have it on an Amazon wish list. I went ahead and wish listed physical edition that was somewhere around like 23, 24.99 on PlayStation 4. That game recently got a spike in sales, rightfully so. Obviously the FOMO of losing it. But it got a spike in sales, and so people are trying to get it before it delists. It's kind of silly that games are delisting, but it is what it is, moving away from the physical editions, right? I also want to mention, shout out to the Digimon game called Digimon Next Order. It was one of those games that's like right in between some of the other releases that didn't really get that big of a like commercial success initially, but they just recently announced that the game finally crossed 1 million in sales. So better late than never. It didn't do it in a day. It took it a couple of years, but they got 1 million in sales. So big shout out to them. I just wanted to mention it. Any big things that you've bought recently or that you're gonna buy on Black Friday you want to mention real quick? Are
So
you still
far,
there?
yeah. You hear me?
I can hear you now. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know if there's anything like major that I plan on buying. Like I want to pick up Sparking Zero. I want to pick up Dragon Age, the Veil
Mm-hmm.
card, but that's not gonna really be on sale. Uh, yeah, nothing crazy that I do want to pick up. What I did see getting talked about a little bit online, which was nice, was Digimon Survive.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have to do a second playthrough of that. So if people haven't played that one, that's another one I suggest.
Okay. Um, Most of the stuff that I'm gonna buy going forward is just gonna be a lot of controllers. I don't know if I mentioned it yet, but I'll mention it here as well. The PlayStation 30th edition controller is apparently being released in batches. They're kind of treating it like it's a super special thing that you can't just get. So
Silly.
it is currently one of the things that's sold out. I do have that on a wish list as well because that was one of the controllers that I wanted to get. I actually didn't even want to touch it though until like the Black Friday prices started to come in for everything else. I don't know if it's going to come in for that controller, But I'm hoping that the other controllers we see a discount in price because I do still want to get two other PS5 controllers. Um, but yeah, that controller is hard to get right now. I also wanted to give a shout out to the Tomb Raider game series. So somewhere earlier, I think this year, they announced the remaster of the PS1 games where it was Tomb Raider 1, 2, and 3, basically. They're now they're announcing the other three because it was actually 6 games on the PS1 alone. That was just all Tomb Raider games. They was popping them out. And so 4, 5, and 6 that are going to come out in a collection in itself as well, similar to the first three. Um, for anybody out there, yes, you could still probably play it through emulation or something. But if you also wanted to play it this way, you can, and you can get like some updated visuals. It's not that good, but it's a little bit better than the original PS1. So shout out to Tomb Raider. I also want to mention for quick news, Alien Isolation is getting a sequel. So they mentioned that they're working on that. I didn't know that game was older. It didn't like it didn't come out on modern hardware. It came out on like I think it was the PS3 if I'm not mistaken. I didn't know that. Like I didn't know it was old. I think it's 10 years old apparently. Um which is crazy. But yeah, it's getting in a sequel. It's one of those games that keep like making sales. Like as time goes on, people just keep playing it. A game heavily inspired by it right now that's having some success. That's also a game that came out this month is the A Quiet Place game. I forgot what it's called. I think a Road something. I forgot, but that's the game where they also incorporate your microphone. So if you make too much noise via the microphone, that thing is gonna come get you. And so,
can you imagine? I just want to see that one like parent who's like streaming this game, and they're like real quiet, and then the door opens, the kid's like, "Dad!" And then all of a sudden, like the thing just attacks.
yeah, I wonder if you have a cell phone that vibrates, if you
Oh,
sneeze, if you if
imagine
it's
that
just
something you sneeze and then the thing just comes at you. Oh
yeah,
man,
just some noise, like some click clanky noise in the background over any little thing.
you ain't changed the smoke detector yet.
Um I wasn't too pressed on trying to play this, but I would not mind seeing somebody's like someone who's interesting their like let's play or something, or maybe a streamer live to see how that goes. I don't know if I really want to watch it from start to finish either, but maybe a good 45 minutes to an hour of it, like actually just seeing the concept of that, because going forward we could probably spend a couple of minutes on that. I think that's probably like a big deal when it comes to the innovation of gaming, because there was another game that had came out not too long ago where they had you talking to the spirit in the house. Like I still kind of feel a little iffy on that because I don't like messing with stuff like that, but it does seem kind of interesting just technology wise how they're able to do stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like would you see yourself playing a game like that?
No, because I make too much noise to talk to myself. Uh, so I don't think I would. It might be fun to do with like if I have some friends over, we're all trying to be quiet while going through the game, and of course trying to mess with the person.
Yeah.
Uh, and you start making noise just to see. It might be cool for like a novelty, like sort of thing, but I don't think I want to be like that silent trying to play a game the whole time. You know?
Yeah, I gotta look at it because I don't know if there's levels to it. Like, is it an instant kill? Because I think if it's an instant kill, it might not be that fun overall. But if it's
Oh, like
like,
hit the bucket and then had to start running and
yeah,
just not get caught. Like I think it's like that.
yeah, because I remember it wasn't necessarily your voice, but I know in Last of Us they had the whole like throw a rock on the side somewhere, and like the zombies would run to the noise that was where the rock had landed, and they were
Yeah.
kind of like looking around and stuff. And like you can mess with them a little bit like that until you like get by, or just to form a distraction before you attack them or something. But it'll be interesting to take it to the next level if we start to see that, where like even on the console side, because I think that's, I don't know if that feature is 100% a PC thing, because when I see microphone, I think like microphone like a streamer's microphone. But if it's picking up what you're saying and stuff, even on like your like PlayStation controller speaker, or if you just have your headset on console, I think that's kind of crazy. That's really crazy. Cause you gotta think about the people who be breathing hard too. Like,
Yeah.
like
Trying to.
if you just breathing
Uh,
hard, if you one of them people, like you can't even help it. That's just you just breathing hard. Like you're not gonna get through that game. Like I wonder what the
but
level of it
one
is.
thing that will add to the intensity, though, right, is if you have the microphone on, you're trying to be quiet, and then, like you said, your phone goes off.
Yeah,
That could add to like the jump scaring.
yeah. That's just kind of crazy. That's kind of crazy. But I guess we can move on. I think the rest of my topics are all about my last couple things, but I actually do want to mention one thing real quick while we're here, because I think this might, well, it's not too related, but let's jump off of gaming for a tiny second, just for like 1 minute, because we don't have to spend too much time on this. But um I had read some headlines wrong at one point, and I almost had this topic wrong. But Blade, the movie, is apparently delayed indefinitely, and I thought
Yeah.
at first it was the game.
Oh no, the game's still coming out strong.
Yeah, but when they said it's been replaced with the Predator movie, I was like, what? I was like, wait, but it's a game, and I was like, oh, they don't mean the game, they mean the movie.
Nah. Yeah.
But any quick thoughts on that at
Uh,
all?
so the people who saw Deadpool would know. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
there's only one Blade, and that's Wesley Snipes.
Okay.
That's that's crazy. Yeah, we'll have to see. Like, I don't know. I don't feel like it shouldn't be that difficult to make
Mm-hmm.
a Blade movie. Like, he is a half vampire, awesome, like cool guy who hunts down vampires. It doesn't need to be more complicated than that.
Yeah, I
You don't,
wonder.
you don't need like some hidden message. You don't need some emotional thing. It's just let him be awesome and fight a bunch of vampires. It should just be this crazy action movie. So I don't, but God, I don't know what they're going for
Mm,
in it or what they're trying to set up. But I feel like it can't be that difficult unless you really just like nobody likes the ideas of what they're writing, or something has to be going on where like backstage politics are getting in the way of like, no, I need to do this or have this message or needs to be this heartfelt or gotta be PG-13, like all of that type of stuff. But
yeah.
if you're not gonna make it good, like I'd rather you just not make it, to be honest.
Yeah, but I think it might be interesting, the movie that they're replacing it with, because I'm kind of interested in that, because when they said it was going to be replaced with a Predator film, the thing I was thinking about was that's coming up off the heels of that last Predator film that was actually a very good successful film,
Was it
where
called Prey?
yeah, because I
Yeah,
remember them saying they were going to do a sequel to that.
I'd rather them do that, especially if it's
Yeah,
a good idea.
and so I wonder if that's what this is. They just kind of casually is like, yeah, you don't get Blade, and I think that was like more of the talking point. But I think people really glanced over this because that last movie was fantastic to me.
Yeah,
They really was very creative with it. It was very much its own thing. I barely like. It was times where I didn't even think it was like your typical Predator film, because usually they're like action packed, you know, like just guns galore and stuff like that. And they didn't really do that there. So if they're gonna do that, I'm still interested in seeing that. The Blade movie will come eventually. It doesn't sound like it's canceled. It just says it's delayed right now, out of this year or out of their lineup. So
I gotta
it'll come.
rewatch the original Blade because in my head it still holds up
Mm-hmm.
now, but I gotta rewatch it just to see. Um, but yeah, I don't like I said, I don't think Blade needs to be that complicated. I think it's a straightforward premise, and that's what makes Blade so good. So
Yeah.
I'd rather if they're gonna be trying to overcomplicate stuff and they have to keep delaying it because of it, then just don't do it.
Yeah. We'll see. Only time will tell on that. Um, there's two other things I want to say in this little news break, and then I'm gonna go over one of your topics. So, I wanted to mention I didn't wait till Black Friday. There was a Halloween sale, and I ended up buying a one of these controllers that I'm still waiting for. So, most of my Black Friday was going to be all controllers, but one of them I got early. I really couldn't wait because of like emulation, but um, the Nintendo GameCube Switch Joy-Cons, basically, if anybody follows me, the official name of it is Wizard Spice Orange Controller, because I got the orange one. But I believe it's the Wizard controller from a company where I think their name is the initials NYXI. They were the ones who got popular, who made that like Switch Joy-Cons that were GameCube style controllers, and so I'm just now getting one very cheap. And I also wanted to mention there's another controller that I'm looking at that I don't think I'm going to actually get because it's like kind of unnecessarily, but it's a game controller called Game Sir Tarantula Pro. If anybody looked this up, it has 9 remappable buttons on top of your standard layout. It's crazy looking. But it's also very good on the PC side. It has the back paddles, and it also has the like adjustment to the triggers where you can make them hair triggers or just regular triggers. So that was another one that I was looking at. I'm probably not gonna end up doing it, but it also has a gimmick where it can like change the layout from the Xbox style to the Nintendo Switch style, or not Switch, but Nintendo. Well, yeah, Nintendo Switch Pro style. But it didn't have a layout for the PlayStation, so I was kind of like, well, that's kind of what I need this controller for because it looks like a PS like 2 or PS3 controller, and I kind of need it to play on the Steam Deck when it's docked. But so that's why I don't know if I'm gonna get it. But I just wanted to mention it because it looks like a cool controller that I think somebody out there might appreciate. And the very, very, very last thing, because I almost forgot it. I mentioned before there's a demo out there I want to mention. So there's a demo called AI Limit, and it's a demo of a Souls-like game if we haven't had enough Souls-likes as it is. If anybody out there was into Souls games but more anime style, this one looks a lot like Code Vein. You would have thought that Code Vein, like this was probably the demo to a sequel for it. They took a lot of liberties from Code Vein, almost to the point where Bandai might want to look into it, similar to how Pokemon was looking into Power World, or Nintendo looking into Power World. But AI Limit is a demo where you can go and play a Souls-like game where you're playing this little girl, not little girl, but you're playing a anime girl, and she's not too like Stella Blade. Basically, she's not really like that. She's proportionate and normal dressed. But yeah, check that out. That's a demo for another Souls-like game. If you haven't had enough Souls-likes as it is, here's another one, and it's free. We all love free. We can move forward. I spent way too much time on this part. Tell me about all of the Dragon Age stories you want to get out. We got a couple different ones here. We're gonna throw them all into this one.
So I'll go with the
What's going
shorter
on?
one, and then I'll go with the longer one.
All
The
right.
shorter one is I started playing Dragon Age Inquisition for the DLC.
Mm-hmm.
That I get to because I said I wanted to play that closer to when Dragon Age 4 comes out. Right? And then of course it was revealed that it's not going to read your data. So in the older games is you can upload your save data to like a cloud, and then the game would read the cloud, like the next game, and edit
Mm-hmm.
the world based off of all of your previous choices. So it would like be a long continuing story, and it would add little Easter eggs where and I'll get to it, but like a friend I was talking to said that she like one of the characters in like Dragon Age like 1 got like pregnant or something like that, and then in Dragon Age 2 she had a baby.
Okay.
Uh, so it was like little Easter eggs where it's just like, oh, you get to see your world developing. And they decided for Veilguard, they were just gonna take three choices, and they said it's basically they were like, it's been 10 years, uh, since Inquisition, and the first people forget. Two, it wouldn't be, I guess, user friendly for new people, and
Mm-hmm.
three, they said they didn't want to accidentally break continuity with some of their stuff. So I figured that was the main thing was they didn't want to have to program it to take in every single choice that could have been made. They just wanted to stick to what they think was the best choice without having to program it. So they're not going to even read old data, which sucks. But uh, moving on, I decided to still play Inquisition, and oh boy, is it rough on the PS5. So when I first turned it on, it had to load in every texture before it lets you start, so you can just see like the world being made while loading in. Then the game loads in, and I was going through it to get to like this war table, and it turns out it didn't read that I had beat the final mission because I had to go through my like journal and to the quest and show that it completed it. So I did that, and it was like, oh yeah, you completed the quest, and then the game crashed. So then I
Mm.
had to reboot it, and it rebooted, loading in like every level at like things at a time, so like trees and then ground and then building and then more building. Uh, so I had to do that, and then I was able to actually get to the DLC stuff. So I'm still playing through that, but yeah, it is not optimized for the PS5. I can tell you that much.
Well, I got a couple questions for you on that. So, because when I wrote this down, it says it was Dragon Age 3. Is Dragon Age 3 the same, or is that a
Yep, that's
different one?
Inquisition.
That's
Dragon Age
Inquisition.
3 is Inquisition. Yep.
Were you playing the PS4 version on the PS5, or is this the
Yes.
PS5 version if it is
This is
one?
the PS4 version, so it's the PS4 disc.
So, is it because I had an issue where I mentioned probably a month or two ago, Bloodborne was not playing on the PS5 for me. Like, well, it was playing, but it was like crashing, hard crashing, where it would shut the system off. And it did it a couple times, and I was like, I don't want to, fry my system. So, and this was the PS Plus collection version back when the PS Plus collection was a thing.
Ugh.
I ended up buying the disc based version of the one with the DLC and just installing that on the PS4 and just playing the PS4 version, and I haven't had an issue since. Um, is this one of those games where you feel like you may need to take it back to the PS4
I
or
started feeling that way. Especially because so I should mention too after the first crash, what ended
mm-hmm,
up happening was so it didn't read that I had beat the final mission, right? So I had to go to my journal and then like just highlight the final mission to show that it was completed. And when I went back to the main screen in the corner, it was like mission completed, blah blah. But because I had highlighted a bunch, it was pretty much like highlighting that I completed a bunch of missions in a row. And I think I just couldn't handle all of that loading, and that's when it crashed. But it also crashed the save file that was from the cloud. So I had to delete that, re-download the cloud save file, and then play the game. So I would honestly say if you have it on PS4, play it on there. Because like I said, both times loading in, the fact that I had to load the world in piece by piece, it didn't do that on the PS4.
now you mentioned it crashed. how bad was the crash? Was this to the dashboard or did it shut the system off or what happened?
Dashboard.
The
So it was like
dashboard.
highlighting a bunch of stuff and then just like stopped and then immediately went to the dashboard. It was like error, like with the game, or yeah, error with the game. And when I tried to click back onto the game, it was like error, like corrupted save file. So
Okay.
it wouldn't load the game. So I had to delete the save file, re-download the save file from the cloud, and then it opened the game.
Yeah, I spoke with someone a while back and we had came to the conclusion if there wasn't a PS5 version of the game, do not play it on the PS5 basically. It kind of
Yeah,
was like across the board. It's a little unfortunate because I think for some people they may be a little misinformed. They might think they can just play their PS4 games on the PS5 all willy-nilly, but if there really was no upgrade of any kind, um that they probably should not do this. And it's really games that came out in the first half of the PS4 generation, because the first half, most of those games, they're just as is. They're not really optimized for that system at all. The system is just sort of bruting, like basically powering through it. But the people who worked on the games are probably long done with the games. And I think that might be another one that was like that. Bloodborne was like that for me, unfortunately, because that's still considered a very big title to a lot of people. There's like a whole thing about Bloodborne that would just not die. But I think when it comes to that game particularly, it is on PC. It is fully, I think it's fully multiplat. But also think Epic Games at one point gave that one away, if I'm not mistaken. I might have to just check, but
yeah.
I'm pretty sure I got it on Epic Games as well. So if anybody has been listening to me say, "Hey, download Epic Games," you might have this in your library. I would probably say go with that version. If you already have a a PC or PC handheld, I would say go with that version first. But for anybody out there who is not aware, PS4 titles that came out in the first half of the PS4 generation, you may not want to play that on PS5. It's just there's an optimization issue there. Unfortunately, it's not like back in the day where you had like the PS1 on the PS2. Um, for some reason this generation they can't just get it completely right. It's like 90% right, 10% off. Some of these games, the earlier ones, is like 75% good, 25% bad,
Don't get
or
why they can't get
even
it right.
worse.
Like it's crazy. And
Yeah.
I was talking about, or I was listening to this other video talk about it too. The fact what they said is, they met the continuity stuff, and Dragon Age is 10 years old, and I'm looking at the other ones, and it's just like, yeah, you had like Dragon Age in its origins, and then like 2 years later, Dragon Age 2, and then like a year and a half later, Dragon Age Inquisition, and then 10 years later, you get the fourth one. And it wasn't like a surprise fourth one. The way the third one ended, it's set up for a fourth one. Like people, that's why some people are really upset that your whole world doesn't transfer over,
Yeah.
because it transferred for the first three, and the fourth one, despite it being, it's the only reason why it's a jumping in point for people is because it's 10 years later. Besides that, like it was very clear setup between the third and the fourth one. Uh, but it's whatever. Uh,
I think the
and all
first two, I have the first two on wish list on Xbox. I know they are like dirt cheap. Like any
yeah,
platform that's like selling them right now, you're probably gonna get the first two for under $5, like
yeah.
for sure.
And so don't
Um,
again, you can jump in. I jumped in on three, and it was only really like certain characters that are like big stars. You have to like sometimes read about them and look them up, if you want, or you can just like take the game's word for it. Like your
mm-hmm.
character is new to the story, so it's like if you just want to be like your character that you make, you don't have to just know these people like all the way. But then there was only one reveal where a character comes up to help, and it turns out that was who you played as in the second game, where it was a little more controlled, and like I didn't realize that, so it was just some dude, like one of my party members was like, I brought a friend, and it was just his friend, and it was like, all right, cool. And then, like I found out later, it's like that was supposed to be your character from the second one who's popping back in to help, and it's like, oh, it would have been a bigger reveal. Oh well. But it was like fine. I didn't feel like I missed anything out just because I started with the third one. So there's ways to do it, but whatever. Uh, but I guess on to the bigger topic. So we talked about the Dragon Age controversies, right? And the things they talk about with like someone like the character creator, or the things they talk about with like not transferring save data and stuff like that. Well, I have a friend, one girl, she's a gamer, heavy gamer, like super into Dragon Age lore. Uh, like she was one of the ones that kind of hyped me up to like play Inquisition. And I knew she was excited for this game, and I wanted to get her take on a lot of this stuff because uh, I wanted to see the opinion of someone, to be honest, one, not a guy, but two, also like heavily into the lore of the game, and is not just like I gotta take their word for it online. It's somebody I know is heavily into the lore, heavily into this game, really excited for it, and wanted to get their opinions on stuff. Right? So,
Mm-hmm.
uh, one of the first questions I asked was about how do they feel about them not reading the previous save data. And she
Mm-hmm.
mentioned that it was immediately it was disappointing to hear, since every other game used that stuff. So she was the one mentioning that one of the main things that she would do in the games is go through and look for little Easter eggs based on choices in previous games. So it's like someone who's seeing this world build off of every choice she makes in the game, just to find out, like for the fourth one, they're just going to take three choices from the third and pretty much disregard the first two uh, to build it. She said it was kind of disappointing to hear. Um, the next question I had asked was, how did you feel about the gameplay changes? Because they went a little more action than tactical. She felt indifferent about it, so she doesn't mind that there. The Kunari, so those are the people with the horns, the gray people.
Uh-huh.
They looked super awkward to me. Like they went with a more cartoony kind of look for these characters instead of the gritty look. So when I asked her about it, she also feels like the Kunari look way too human. Like they look weird. They have smooth faces now, and I don't know. I don't like it. Uh, I asked if the name change from Dreadwolf to Veilguard like scared her, because that scared me initially. Uh, when I first heard, it was supposed to be a sequel, but it's 10 years later, and they change it from Dreadwolf to Veilguard. It made me feel like they were just gonna completely ignore previous games. So that
Mm-hmm.
made. So I asked her about how she felt. She liked the name change. She said she was worried that with the Dreadwolf title, it was going to focus too much on uh, the big twisted Dragon Age Inquisition, that like they weren't going to do anything else in the game. So she likes the name change. Uh, I asked, did it scare her that it made a strong effort to make the game accessible to new players, right? Like taking away some of the like lore stuff. I think that also makes her slightly nervous, right? Like it's important to have a mix so that new people can get in, but it should reward still the longtime fans for being there. Uh, so she doesn't want them to go too simple on lore, because lore is what brought her into the game. So there is a fear that like to be accessible to new people, they're not really going to go deep into the world because they're going to assume the new players don't know the world. Uh, which I think is a valid fear. And then finally, my last question, the one that like, was the big thing, was all about the whole, the argument about female representation in the game, and like the woke messaging
Uh-huh.
and the character creator, where you can kind of make things masculine or androgynous, but you can't really go like full anime girl in there. Uh, and they like block that off. And how did you feel about like those type of controversies? Um, where some people think it's valid, other people say touch grass. And her response to it, she's like, she likes the inclusiveness. She thinks for a character creator, it's important that like you should be able to create whatever you want. So I'll use the vulgar phrase that she praised and asked because this go to YouTube. But basically, I guess the next one is just like if you want the upper half to be that representative of a woman while the lower half is representative of a guy, you should be able to do whatever you want. You can fill in the act, the words there. But she's like, you should do
Mm-hmm.
like whatever you want to make. You should be able to make. It's your world. Go crazy with it. So with that said, uh, it is kind of messed up, that you like that they do limit how far into the like anime girl that you can make for this type of stuff because you should be able to make whatever you want. But then she did bring up a point that I didn't really think about. And it was when we say like there are a lot of games that like over sexualize the women in
Mm-hmm.
there. One of her big things she always brings up how for Mass Effect, which was even brought up through Mass Effect creators, whereas there's a lot of camera angles that would always show the girl's butt in Mass Effect, and they even somebody showed a side by side thing where if you played as the guy, the camera was over shoulder, and if you played as the girl, the camera was from the ground. This
Yeah, I
was
guess they call that fan service.
yeah. So bringing that stuff up, but there was a thing that she also kind of brought up that I never really paid attention to. Is because we focus so much on the protagonist, always like like the protagonist is too feminine or protagonist is not feminine enough, like one of those type of things.
Yeah.
She was mentioning how like in a lot of games, like for the men that are in the game, you get like a wide variety, like even past the main character, right? You got your hot dude with the abs, you got your old guy that's balding, the crazy looking guy, the big guy, the hairy guy. Like there's always a wide variety, but then in general, the women are always like hot. Like that's your option for like women in the game. They're all hot. Uh, so she mentioned how there should be a lot more wide variety. Like it can be more real world looking if there was a wide variety of it as well. But it was interesting to get her takes on that. I don't know if you had any thoughts on it as well. But she's still
Um.
overall excited for Veilguard. She's gonna play it again. My biggest fear is that they're gonna Saints Row it with the story, but so that's where I get afraid. But yeah, she's still excited for the game.
I don't plan on buying this game this year, but I do plan on also Veilguard. I don't plan on buying that. I think this comes out on Halloween as one of the last games that comes out for October. I do plan on playing it eventually, but I'm one of those people who are going to go through the full series because, like I said before, the first couple games are dirt cheap. I do want to just go ahead and play it, get a feel for the whole thing all the way through, and then I'll come to this game last. But yeah, I do plan on playing it eventually. It is gonna be, I think, going head to head with another game on the 31st. But
That was the only
um,
thing on the 31st.
was it
I
was it
thought
on the
so.
thing? Let me go back. Oh, Horizon Zero Dawn remastered and Shadow of the Damned Hell remastered. So I don't
Those
know if
come
they
out on
count
the.
the
Those come out on
31st.
the 31st. Oh,
Yeah. I don't know how much that counts. They're not really new games, they're just remasters, but yeah, as far as the brand new game, that's one of the last ones on the list. I think tomorrow as of this recording, you're going to get Sonic X Shadow and East 10 Nordics as the
yeah.
big games. And then I believe Call of Duty technically. And so yeah, very very stacked, super stacked month. Like there's somebody out there who probably bought all these games like brand new and spent like probably the price of a whole system. But
Oh, speaking of,
um
we may have mentioned in a previous podcast that Sonic X Shadow was like full price, 70. I think I rechecked. It's like 40.
yeah, I think we did mention that it was 40. I think
Okay.
we mentioned it. But yeah, that's a game that's gonna come out. And I think because I've mentioned it before, you might see one of the quickest like sales drops for it because the last like three Sonic games have all like dropped by Black Friday like heavily,
Yeah.
crazy heavily. So that might be the next one. Um, we're running kind of long, so I'm going to try to go through this very quickly because I technically had three more topics, but they're not really topics. All our big topics are gone. I just want to mention. I usually like to talk about the emulation stuff towards the end. I wanted to speak on the company known as Anbernic. They come out with a lot. When I mean a lot of gaming devices. And so I just wanted to mention, did you know that the gaming device that we purchased, which was called the RG40XXV, did you know they've come out with two handhelds since then, or they've announced at least two
Two?
handhelds, and
Jeez,
one
I
of
thought
them
it
is
was just
already
one.
out.
I thought they had announced one because I thought it was like the day it dropped, they announced a new one. I didn't realize they released a second. That's crazy.
Yeah, because that one has also come out, and that was the one where it basically had two joysticks. It was a little bit more beefier, and it could play GameCube and PS2 up to that point. Since then, they've redone the RG Cube version of the device, and so that was the one that was like a more square shaped, with the controls and stuff like that's widescreen, but it's not wide. Like, no, what I'm trying to say, it's kind of like a Steam Deck or Rogue Ally, but the screen is square, basically. Something like that, where the controls are on the sides of it and not a long device. And so they've come out with that. They've also mentioned that they've announced, I should say, their first controller, which is like one of the biggest who asked for this kind of thing to me. But I just wanted to mention that I think the controller is called RGPO1, and emphasis on that PO1 because I'm pretty sure they're going to keep coming out with different versions of this, just like the devices. And I think this is their strategy, just keep coming out with stuff. And this is like it looks like a Switch Pro or a Xbox controller, almost exact same layout, same type of um ergonomic design as the Xbox or the Switch controller. So almost like you're almost more prone to just get one of those than this, but they decided to do it anyway. The biggest selling point is that they have the Hall effect triggers or Hall effect Joy-Con, so there shouldn't be no Joy-Con drift. Allegedly, right now. When they showed this thing off, I thought it was interesting that they showed it off with Black Myth Wukong, they showed it off with Sparking Zero, and then they actually showed it off with Mario Odyssey, which they might be, trailing a thin ice with Nintendo by showing it, but they showed it on, I think, that controller hooking to the Switch and playing the actual game. So, yeah, I think that was still legit. Nintendo shouldn't be mad at them for it. But yeah, they showed that off. And this particular company just keeps coming out with stuff. And
Do you think they're leading to their own like emulation console? So you'll have like the controller, and instead of
um
where you put the games that you want on it, like it's just an emulating console.
I mean technically that's what them devices are, right? They've emulated a bunch of older
I
stuff.
guess not handheld, one that you hook to like a monitor.
Um, I, I, I think that they would if it's cost efficient. I think the handhelds are probably very easy to make. I think all the parts are probably somewhat cheap, or they don't like overcharge you the way the main companies do. And it probably exposes the main companies a little bit because probably most likely our regular controllers can be this cheap as well. But their devices are usually somewhere in the $60 range to $100 range, depending on what it is. I think the controller that they're advertising is like $40, which is right in line with the regular stuff. Like if anybody was to do this or see this, they would probably just go ahead and get like one of those third party Switch Pro controllers from like GameStop or something because it's like quite literally the same price. But as far as the actual system, I'm getting to that. I do want to mention something about that. So Anbernic has not done that yet, but I do think they're probably going to. Within this topic, I do want to mention one of their main competitors, which was Mayu, very much known for the famous Mayu Mini and Mayu Mini Plus. Mayu Mini Plus is still one of my favorites. There was some leaked images that they have their own like flip version coming out eventually. That I think is called the Mayu Mini Flip until they change the title. This thing has pretty much the same like the same type of ergonomics and everything as the Anbernic's flip device, except this one has two Joy-Cons or two sticks basically like inside of the shell a little bit. And so it looked a little weird, but that's what they're working on. And they don't come out with devices as quickly as Anbernic, but they do come out with their devices. And I guess that's going to hit the scene at some point. I don't have a need to buy that. I don't have a need to buy any more Anbernic devices either, unless one of them come out with a device that mimics the 3DS perfectly. If it does that, then I can load it up with a bunch of 3DS games. And it has two screens. It would need to have two screens too. If somebody comes out with that, I would jump on it. But until then, I'm not doing any more devices. But I just wanted to mention it within that topic. I am still very much enjoying the RG40XXV, and I'm going to mention that again in a second. But my other second to last topic that I wanted to mention real quick is surrounding a device that I don't know if I showed you already, but you just mentioned a device that is going to be a emulation device that's a home console. And so somebody has already beat them to the punch. And interesting enough, this is coming from a company known as Analog. They are the people who are behind the famous, at this point, Analog Pocket. The Analog Pocket was the device that was like similar to the RG35XX and RG40XXV. Except there was no like control stick on there, and there was an emulation. It was a device where you can play your original Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance games cartridge-wise on the device, right? These guys, they sold that particular machine for like $200, which I thought was kind of steep, but it was a success. People was buying it. They was paying extra for the dock and like cases and screen protectors and everything. So they made a lot of money off of that. And that thing, yes, it was dockable where you can play the Game Boy Advance games on your TV. Officially, the only other way that you was able to do that is if you had a GameCube with the what was it called? The Game Boy Advance thing that you used to clamp on the bottom of it, and then you needed a disc as well. A lot of people out there know what I'm talking about. Well, they come back and they have decided to create a device known as the Analog 64. Interesting enough, this is to emulate the N64, and people have a lot of faith into this because they haven't seen anything about it yet. They've only seen like a CGI type poster mock-up picture of it, where it's supposed to come out. It's going to be white and a white version and a black version, and it's promised to play N64 games up to 4K. And apparently this thing sold out. Its pre-order sold out in 4 hours, and it was they were charging $250 for this, of all things. Like, that was so crazy when I saw that. But it's almost like the alarm clock thing where people want to buy certain things. I look at the N64 as like one of those devices that or one of those systems that some of your modern pieces of hardware should emulate it with no problem. But there are people who are really sticking to those cartridges, and they want to play it that way. They're gonna pay big money to do it, and so this thing sold out in 4 hours. It also has a wireless controller where they partnered with 8-Bit Do, which is interesting because this is a partner of Nintendo. 8-Bit Do does Nintendo Switch controllers, a lot of different versions, and most notable for playing the Super Nintendo and stuff on their eShop, right? Well, they've partnered with a company who's emulating one of their devices, and I wonder how Nintendo might feel about it in the long run. But I don't think this is a situation like Power World where people can say anything about it, or maybe like the Yuzu emulator, because you're not really pirating any games of any kind. It's literally playing the hardware that you own. And so the 8-Bit Do controller is a wireless controller that looks similar to N64 controller, but they made it a little bit more modern day. They smoothen it out and makes it look a lot more like the Switch Pro and the Xbox controller, similar to that Anbernic one that I just mentioned. It's like that's the go-to layout now, I guess. But if you wanted the controller by itself, because you can still get it and use it to emulate on PC, I guess that controller is going to be $39.99 as well. It's kind of funny where these prices are and stuff. It's just it's like you could just be done with it with a Xbox controller and just go on PC. But I guess people just want to do this. But more power to them. I'm not gonna be mad at anybody. I'm more mad at the alarm clock than I am this. But $250 then is this something? Could you see yourself if you had a giant N64 collection that you just did not want to get rid of? Could you see yourself buying this? Because you gotta have it in 4K.
At that, then yes. Because why not upgrade it to 4K? So if I had that collection, yeah, but I don't have the collection, so.
If I have a strong attachment to some of the games. Shout out to WWF No Mercy.
Yeah.
But my original cartridge with my original save is long gone. Been long gone. So pretty much all the games, actually the full library I have on the RG 40XXV. So that's kind of where I'm gonna play for most of this stuff. With retro achievements and all that jazz. But for this, I mean, hey, the first batch sell out in 4 hours. That's crazy. That's crazy for something like this.
Yeah.
And I know they made more than like whatever the PlayStation 30th edition thing was. I know they made more because that analog pocket just kept selling. It was crazy. And it's still available. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that this is my second to last topic. My very last topic. I swear to you, it's not going to take more than 5 minutes. I just wanted to mention my, how do I say it? So if anybody's followed the podcast so far, as we've been just coming out with our weekly stuff or every other week, however we've been doing it, I've been coming like closer and closer to being a part of the PC master race. And I don't want to fully admit it like how I just did. I just kind of feel like I'm starting to understand where some of them are coming from. And it's mainly with the Steam Deck now, that I just wanted to mention some of the things that I've been doing with it. I've tinkered with the Steam Deck similar to the other devices, where the Steam Deck that I have now has a terabyte a terabyte SD flash drive in it, right? That has every PS2 and GameCube game on there that I want, and I'm like buying these controllers that are coming in the mail for it as well. it looks fantastic on their like storefront, or not storefront, but on their layout, like on their OS, right? And Steam has a certain way of making it look like it's a part of Steam so much that you would barely recognize that it's emulation. And like I can understand now why people would say it has to go in Steam and it can't be under any other launcher, because for some reason Steam allows you to add back like ways to launch a game within Steam even though it's being launched from somewhere else, to the point where it looks so seamless and is so quick that you will really think that it's a Steam game. And then the community is constantly updating Steam on their side, where there are already all types of album art or cover art for every game already, just based on the community. And Steam also somehow, when you launch a game, it also recognizes retro achievements as well, and it will line them up in a certain type of way where you really would not, it would be hard for you to distinguish between like the real stuff and the emulated stuff. It's just right there. It's just right there, and it's like it's all laid out, it's perfect, and the community is amazing because they release their own patches as well and their own mods, right? And I could take that, I can dock it and play with some of these other controllers and just play it conventionally on a TV or play a handheld, and it's seamless. It's just seamless, and it's just amazing. I can't really explain it any way else. It's just you really can't tell that it's not a part of Steam. Um and I have to recommend the Steam Deck to a lot of people who does emulation. That's right there in the middle of the different systems, the PS2 and the GameCube most specifically, the Wii as well for some people. But you, of course, with the Wii, you're gonna need the little bar, the sensor bar, and they sell some PC ones too. But that's, you can't really do nothing handheld with that. But Anbernic, I mentioned before, they keep coming out with all these devices to keep playing some of these systems. I honestly would like to say, like, when it comes to like PS2 and GameCube, don't waste your time with that. Go straight to the Steam Deck, so there's no like lack of power whatsoever, and it just plays everything, and it's just like in there in the OS, where it just looks fantastic. For anybody out there. But yeah, man, I'm inching towards it. I don't know. I'm still not on the. I'm on the fence of whether or not I will buy Spider-Man 2 on PC. I still might just go ahead and get the physical version just because of just having it physical. Because I still support physical, but yeah, man, having that in the collection as well wouldn't be too bad just to look at it in Steam. I got some of the other PS2 games from the Spider-Man series already in there. It just looks fantastic. Like some of the artwork and stuff, it just looks fantastic. But yeah, I think that's it. We've been here all night. An hour and 48 minutes, so I guess we could stop. Anything you want to speak on at all? Anything that I just spoke on the last couple topics? Anbernic, Analog 64, or
I love hearing that all this stuff is out. Just to keep games alive. Like, game preservation is a real thing, so having all this stuff available is just beautiful to hear.
my last thing I'll say, the the Analog 64 as a 64 system. So I will be watching videos of people who like review it when they finally get it and stuff. It's not a device that I'm gonna get, but I am excited about the future when it comes to these systems, because now we're starting to see premium looking systems come out, and I think it's going to keep coming. Like, you're going to see Next, they're gonna go up one more level. You know, they're gonna do a GameCube or a PS2 at some point, or maybe a new updated Dreamcast, which would be crazy on the streets, right?
Yeah.
People would eat that up. But eventually, we're gonna get to the one system that was just really, really hard to emulate, and that was the PS3. And some of those original PS3s that have like backwards compatibility in them, they're like really hard to find now because those systems didn't last that long. Their power, the way that they were, they burn out very easily, I guess, according to the people. But imagine like somebody coming out with a back compat PS3 with this price point, $250 or maybe $300, and it's doing 4K and it's like handling those games with no problem.
Beautiful. That was my
You know what I
biggest
mean?
library. There's so many games on there that are just so fun. So yeah, that'd be great.
I'm really I'm all for it. I'm all for like companies that are like degenerate too, like D brand, because D
Mm.
brand has been challenging PlayStation with their like plates and stuff for the longest time. Like I think one of them, like they named it something like some, it was something crazy. It was like sue me or something like that. I don't know. It was crazy, but like eventually somebody's gonna come out with like a system where it's playing like games that were like already delisted and stuff. Like it just brings it back, and it's like that's when you take the control back. That's when the gamers are gonna have control over everything again. So I look forward to it, but we've been here long enough, an hour and 50 minutes. So we'll cut it short. I think next week we may spend the last 5 or 10 minutes to speak on a review of a particular wrestling show. We'll probably go there more or less next week. But like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will catch you on the next video. Peace. Enjoy the holiday season. See you.